They should have left us on Earth. That's what they whisper now, in their council chambers, behind the closed blast doors of their warships, in the shadowed corners of their sterile, gleaming stations. Too late for regrets. I remember the first time humanity was summoned to the Deathworld Alliance, a collection of the galaxy's hardiest species, survivors of planets so hostile, most civilizations dared not visit them. They prided themselves on endurance, on resilience. They thought we would fit right in. I was there, Captain Damon Krell, first commander of the Terran Strike Fleet. They invited me personally to stand before the Grand Council, an oval of stone-faced Xenos who barely tolerated our presence. "You are a species of warriors," Counselor Threx had said, with that smug curl to his mandibles. "We recognize your value. Together we shall maintain order across the outer sectors." Translation? They wanted human soldiers, disposable muscle, cannon fodder for their dirty wars. We knew. We knew going in that they didn't respect us, just feared what they didn't understand. And we played along. We trained with their shock troopers, flew patrols in their border skirmishes, took their impossible assignments, and completed them with brutal efficiency. They called us efficient. What they meant was ruthless, because we don't fight like them. Their wars were measured, controlled, bound by ancient codes of engagement, ritualized violence. Humans? We don't play by their rules. We fight to win. We fight to survive. It started small. After a border incident with the Vorak pirates, I led a strike team to recover hostages from a slaver stronghold. The other species would have sent a negotiating party. We sent breachers. No one left alive but our people. No hostages harmed. No mercy shown. Word spread fast. The Vorak backed off. But the Council didn't like what they'd unleashed. "You overstepped, Captain Krell," Counselor Isan hissed in one hearing. "I did what your own forces failed to do for years," I answered. "You asked for results. You got them." Tension built from there. Every time we deployed, we brought human tactics, human aggression. When enemies surrendered, our soldiers still held them accountable. When rules of engagement got in the way, we found ways around them. The other species began to fear us more than the enemies we fought. They whispered about our barbarism, about Earth's brutal history, about what we might do if fully unleashed. But they needed us. Oh, they needed us. Until 2 months ago. That was when the incident on Kethar Prime happened. The official reports are still sealed, but I was there. We were ordered to secure a mining colony under siege by rogue mercenaries. The Council forbade orbital bombardment. Too many political entanglements. They wanted a surgical solution. My men went in. We cleared the mercs. But we found more. Evidence of Council collusion, secret weapons deals fueling the black market. The Council wanted it buried. We broadcast it, live, across every Alliance channel. The Council lost its mind. They summoned me under charges of insubordination and destabilizing the fragile order. Fragile, indeed, held together by lies. I refused the summons. Terran Fleet Command backed me. Earth recalled all expeditionary forces. Now the Alliance is scrambling, terrified that the humans they tried to use have turned against them. Because now they see the truth. We're not just another ally. We're a threat, and they fear what's coming. Because war is coming. And this time, we fight for ourselves. I sat in the command chair of the TSF Valiant, staring at the message flashing on the central display. Another demand from the Deathworld Alliance Council. Another thinly veiled threat. "Return to Council authority immediately. Failure to comply will be met with force." I leaned back, eyes narrowing. The ship's bridge was quiet except for the low hum of engines and the faint tapping of consoles. My executive officer, Jonas Merrick, stood beside me. He looked tired. We all did. Weeks on high alert, ever since Kethar Prime. "They won't let this go," Jonas muttered. No, I said flatly. They can't afford to. Behind us, on a massive view screen, the Alliance fleet was taking shape. Scouts and intel reports confirmed it. 3 full battle groups from various member species were gathering in the outer system. The same species who had called us allies a few months ago. Now they were arming for war. Against us. Orders, Captain? Jonas asked. We hold position, I said, but prep the fleet. If they come for us, we won't be caught sleeping. He nodded and moved to relay the orders. Across the fleet, Terran warships went to combat readiness, shields up, weapons primed, strike teams on standby. And I sat there, watching the cold stars beyond the viewport, knowing how we got here. When the Alliance first approached Earth, it had seemed like a chance. Humanity was still relatively new to the galactic stage. No sprawling empire, no ancient legacy. Just a rough, ambitious species clawing its way into space. We impressed them, of course. No one survived a death world like Earth without being hard. The Alliance worlds were savage, hostile flora, predatory megafauna, brutal climates. But Earth had something worse. Us. Humans had fought wars for millennia, on our own soil, against our own kind. No other species had that history. They underestimated what it did to us, what it made us capable of. They thought we'd be loyal attack dogs, useful in a fight, easy to leash in peacetime. They never expected we'd expose their rot. I remembered the council chambers the day the Kethar Prime evidence went public. A recording from my suit cam, broadcast to every major comm network. Crates of illegal plasma rifles, stamped with council markings, hidden in mercenary stockpiles. Alliance counselors funding black market killers, sacrificing civilians for their own political games. It shattered the illusion of order. The media swarmed. Protests erupted on core worlds. Some species began questioning the Alliance leadership. And the Council? They panicked, tried to pin it all on me, on humans. They claimed we'd falsified evidence, staged the whole thing to undermine trust. They demanded Earth extradite me for trial. The Terran government refused. Public opinion on Earth exploded with outrage. Millions marched in support of the fleet. Old wounds of distrust toward alien powers reopened. Then came the orders to recall Terran forces from joint operations. And the whispers of war began. I was pulled from my thoughts by an incoming priority ping. Jonas patched it through. Go ahead, I said. The face of Admiral Roland Voss filled the screen. Older, battle-scarred head of Terran Fleet Command. One of the few men I respected. Damon, Voss said without preamble. The situation's escalating. I see that, I replied dryly. They're massing ships out here like they think we'll roll over. Voss's expression hardened. Sat Recon confirms Alliance troop movements across 3 sectors. They're prepping for coordinated strikes. Against us? I asked, though I already knew. Likely. They're framing this as a containment operation, calling us rogue, dangerous. I barked a bitter laugh. Because we told the truth. Voss leaned forward. You need to hold that system, Damon. If they think we'll back down, it'll only embolden them, but if we stand firm... They might think twice, I finished. Exactly. Voss paused. Reinforcements are inbound, but it'll take time. You're on the front line for now. Understood. One more thing, Voss said. His voice dropped. Our intel says some factions within the Alliance are pushing for a preemptive strike. They fear what you might do if you take the fight to them first. I smiled coldly. They should be afraid. After the call, I rose from the chair. The bridge crew watched me, men and women who had fought beside me through fire and blood. They're coming for us, I said aloud, and when they do, we'll show them why humanity doesn't bow. A low murmur of approval rippled through the room. Jonas approached. We've got another issue, Captain. Civilians. I frowned. Human merchant ships, colonists, travelers, all caught in Alliance space. Some are being detained, others, reports say they're being attacked. There it was. The first real sign this wasn't going to stay a cold standoff. I clenched my fists. Get me a full list. Prioritize rescue operations where possible. If the Alliance wants to start targeting our people, they'll learn what retaliation really looks like. That night, I stood alone in my quarters, staring at the stars. War wasn't coming anymore. It was here, and the Alliance had no one to blame but themselves. They wanted to use us. They thought they could control us. They forgot one simple truth. Humans do not kneel. We adapt. We survive. We fight. Now they'd pushed us to the brink. And when humanity fights with its back against the wall, there is no force in this galaxy that can match us. I thought of the soldiers under my command. Hardened veterans, most of them. Men who had seen what the Alliance truly was. I thought of the civilians now trapped, abused, hunted. That rage burned deep in me. And I thought of Earth, our home. The only true death world among so-called Deathworlders. If they dared bring this war to our soil, I smiled. A cold, merciless smile. Then they would learn why the Deathworld Alliance regrets inviting humans, and why soon they would fear us above all. The Deathworld Alliance called an emergency war council. Every species had representatives present, broadcast across encrypted quantum channels to a hidden station in neutral space. The air was thick with tension. At the head of the chamber stood Counselor Isan, his serpentine frame coiled and trembling with barely contained fury. He pounded one clawed hand on the table, his voice echoing through the hall. This human rebellion threatens everything we have built. They expose our secrets, defy our laws, and now they openly prepare for war. We must act. The council chamber erupted in a flurry of voices. Counselor Threx of the Charik Packworlds let out a guttural snarl. I warned you. Humans are not allies. They are predators. You gave them weapons, fleets, access to our inner systems. High Seer Valtra of the Varashi blinked slowly, her eyes cold and calculating. Yet we needed them. No species fought with such determination. They were useful until now. They've grown too strong, Isan snapped. Their fleet commands respect and fear among our outer colonies. Their soldiers, too adaptable, too ruthless. An old voice spoke up. Counselor Koresh of the Muldoon, whose people were ancient even by Alliance standards. We invited this. Their blood history was known. We thought them controllable. Now, they threaten the balance. Isan's eyes flashed. Then we must strike before it is too late. A murmur swept through the council. Preemptive war was not a term thrown lightly. Valtra tilted her head. And if Earth retaliates, humanity is more unified now than ever. Their people will rally behind their soldiers. Isan bared his fangs. Let them. We will crush their fleets, blockade their world, and remind them of their place. It was a dangerous game they were about to play. They all knew it. But fear of what humans might become, was stronger than caution. By the end of that meeting, the decision was made. A preemptive strike to cripple the Terran fleet, isolate their systems, and force unconditional surrender. They called it containment, but it was war. Aboard the TSF Valiant, I read the decrypted report from our intelligence team. The message was clear. Alliance forces were mobilizing. Battle groups forming at key jump points. Interdiction fleets preparing to cut off Terran trade lanes. They've made their choice, Jonas said grimly as he paced the bridge. I nodded. So have we. The fleet was ready. Terran forces had been preparing for this moment since the first council accusations after Kethar Prime. What the Alliance never understood was that humans plan for betrayal. We expect it. And when it comes, we don't hesitate. Across the fleet, combat drills intensified. Fighters launched and recovered in endless cycles. Weapon systems ran hot with simulated fire. Supply ships moved under heavy escort, bringing in munitions and critical resources. I summoned my senior officers to the war room. Around the long table, battle-hardened men studied the glowing holomap that showed Alliance fleet movements. "We are outnumbered," I began. "Their fleets are larger, more species, more ships, but they're fractured, divided loyalties, conflicting doctrines. They fight with one hand tied by politics." I pointed to the core sectors. "Our strength is cohesion, purpose, speed. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we exploit their weaknesses." The officers nodded grimly. They knew what was at stake. Jonas spoke. "Civilian rescue operations?" I answered without hesitation. "Priority 1, every human ship trapped in Alliance space. We bring them home. If they target civilians, we will answer with force." There was no dissent. This wasn't just about military pride anymore. The Alliance had begun detaining and attacking Terran civilians. Some reports spoke of internment camps, others, worse. For that, there would be no forgiveness. 3 days later, the first shot was fired. A Terran freighter convoy, under escort by light corvettes, was ambushed near the Ankaris relay. Alliance warships, under direct council orders, attacked without warning. 2 freighters destroyed, survivors captured. They broadcast their justification across every channel. Terran vessels engaged in acts of provocation, neutralizing a threat to peace. A lie. And a declaration of war. The Terran response was immediate. Under my command, Task Force Valiant jumped into the Ankaris sector at combat readiness. As we emerged from the Gravwell, the stars burned bright behind the silhouettes of Alliance ships arrayed before us. I opened a fleet-wide channel. "This is Captain Damon Krell of the Terran Strike Fleet," I said, my voice cold and sharp. "You have attacked unarmed civilians. You have made your intentions clear." There was no reply, just the low pulse of targeting scanners locking onto us. "So be it," I said. "Weapons free." The Battle of Ankaris was brutal. The Alliance expected us to fight like they did, orderly formations, predictable tactics. They thought they could box us in. They were wrong. Human war doctrine is built on adaptability and overwhelming aggression. Our ships surged forward in wolf pack formations, flanking and breaking through enemy lines. Fighters swarmed their capital ships, striking at exposed weak points. I stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the shifting chaos of battle. Commands flowed from my mouth like fire. "Cut through their center line. Bring the heavy cruisers to bear. Target their flagship. Disrupt command and control." Alliance ships faltered. They weren't ready for the sheer ferocity of the Terran assault. One by one, their formation crumbled. But they fought hard. Alliance warships weren't fragile. We lost good men. 3 corvettes and a destroyer took critical hits. By the battle's end, the enemy fleet was in retreat. What was left of it? We had secured the sector and extracted civilian survivors. But it was only the beginning. The battle shook the galaxy. Alliance news networks spun it as a Terran act of aggression. They painted us as warmongers, bloodthirsty and uncontrollable. But the truth leaked out. Footage of the unprovoked ambush, the civilian freighters burning in space. Independent networks across neutral systems picked up the story, and across human space, the war drum sounded louder than ever. I sat alone in my quarters after the battle, the adrenaline fading, replaced by grim reflection. The Council had forced this war. Now it would burn across the stars. A chime interrupted my thoughts. Jonas entered, his expression tight. "Captain," he said quietly, "Fleet Command just sent new orders." I straightened. "What are they?" Jonas hesitated, then handed me the datapad. Authorization granted. Commence strategic operations against Alliance military targets. You are cleared to engage at discretion. No quarter to those who target civilians. It was the order we'd been waiting for. No more defensive posturing. Now we take the fight to them. I looked Jonas in the eye. Prepare the fleet. We're moving out. He nodded once. No words were needed. As he left, I stared out at the stars once more. The Council thought they could provoke us into weakness. They thought they could break us. Instead, they had unified humanity like never before. Now we fought not just for honor or politics. We fought for survival. And the Deathworld Alliance was about to learn what it meant to provoke a species that had spent its entire history learning how to win impossible wars. This was no longer a war of containment. It was a war of vengeance, and it was only just beginning. The stars beyond the viewport gleamed cold and indifferent as the TSF Valiant sailed through the void at battle readiness. We were hunting now. The war had entered a new phase. No more waiting, no more posturing. Earth had authorized full counteroffensive operations. Across the fleet, spirits were high, hard, grim, but high. The first major battle at Ankaris had been a victory. Bloodied, yes. But it proved that the Alliance fleets could be broken, and that knowledge was spreading faster than any ship. Reports poured in from human intelligence networks embedded across neutral systems. The Alliance leadership claimed unity, but the cracks beneath the surface were widening. Several member species questioned the war. Whispers of dissent spread among the smaller powers, species who had never wanted this fight, who now saw humanity as more honest than their own corrupt council. We knew it, and we planned to exploit it. In the war room aboard the Valiant, Jonas and I met with two of Fleet Command's covert liaisons, Commander Halverson and Intelligence Officer Lyra Cade. Both were cold professionals, veterans of 100 shadow wars humanity had fought long before reaching the stars. Halverson began. We have factions inside the Alliance who are ready to break. Some resent the Council's lies. Some are simply afraid of human retaliation. Lyra tapped a control and brought up a star map littered with flagged worlds and installations. We have assets in place. If we strike key targets, precise, surgical blows, we can fracture their unity even further. Jonas crossed his arms. Risks? Lyra gave a thin smile. Everything. If these missions fail, the Council will tighten its grip. They'll double their propaganda, but if they succeed... She let that hang in the air. I spoke quietly. Then we collapse the Alliance from within. Our first target was an Alliance weapons depot hidden in the Rosen system. Officially a neutral trading hub, unofficially the primary source of arms for several species' military forces. Intelligence had confirmed it. Council members were using it to arm privateer fleets and Black Ops units aimed at Terran colonies. I selected a strike force personally. No admirals, no committee debates. This wasn't a clean war. It was a knife fight in the dark, and humanity was damn good at it. We moved fast. Valiant jumped to the system under stealth drive, accompanied by 2 cruisers and a squadron of Black Ops corvettes. No announcement, no warning. The Rosen station came into view. An ugly sprawl of metal and guns, protected by a modest defense grid. They never expected a Terran task force to appear in their backyard. They never expected us to ignore protocol and strike first. All ships, I ordered, weapons free. Disable their comms. I want that station neutralized before they know what hit them. The assault was swift and merciless. Our corvettes sliced through the outer defense grid, EMP bursts frying automated turrets. Strike teams launched aboard drop pods, the same units that had cleared Kethar Prime. I led the boarding assault myself. Human soldiers fight differently. Close quarters, brutal efficiency. The alien defenders had no answer for it. We cleared the station floor by floor, taking prisoners where possible, eliminating threats without hesitation. In less than an hour, Rosen's primary arms depot was burning. More importantly, we seized intact data cores, records of secret council shipments, backroom deals, hidden alliances, exactly what we needed. The fallout was immediate. When the council accused us of violating neutral space, we simply released the data, broadcasting it across every open channel, proof of their illegal arms deals, proof of their lies. The effect was electric. Several neutral species immediately condemned the council. Small cracks widened into fractures. But it wasn't enough. The council still had the core fleets, still had numbers on their side, and they were growing desperate. Our intelligence soon confirmed it. They had authorized full-scale fleet mobilization. No more containment, no more limited engagements. They were preparing for a war of annihilation. I gathered my officers again. The holomap now displayed Alliance battle groups moving toward key Terran sectors. Jonas' jaw tightened. If they break through in any of these lanes, they'll hit our outer colonies, civilians. I nodded. We won't let that happen. Halverson spoke up. We have new contacts. Several Alliance commanders want to defect, or at least stay out of the war. We can arm them, supply them, force more division. Lyra added, and we have another opportunity. There's a gathering scheduled, an emergency council summit on Jaraxxus Station. If we can get a team inside. She didn't need to finish. I understood. Political decapitation. Cut the head off the snake. It was dangerous. Infiltrating a fortified Alliance stronghold was near suicidal. But if we pulled it off, it could shatter the enemy leadership. I stood and looked around the table. We hit their fleets. We bleed them. We fracture their alliances. And when the time is right, we take the heart. As the fleet prepared for the next phase, I sent a personal message back to Earth, encrypted, for Fleet Command only. The Council has chosen total war. We will not surrender. Humanity fights with unity and purpose. Let history remember, we did not start this war, but we will finish it. Late that night, I walked the corridors of the Valiant, alone with my thoughts. The hum of engines vibrated through the deck plates. The stars beyond the viewports were sharp and cold. We were at war with the most powerful alliance in known space, outnumbered, outgunned. And yet, we had something they didn't. Will. Adaptability. The refusal to be broken. I thought of the soldiers under my command. Men forged in fire, trained to fight with no illusions, no idealism, just cold resolve. And I thought of the Council. Arrogant, corrupt fools who thought they could manipulate humanity forever. Now they feared us. And with good reason. The war was accelerating. The next weeks would decide everything. But one thing was certain. We would never kneel. We would never forget. And when the dust settled, either the Alliance would fall, or we would burn the stars trying. 2 weeks after the Rosen strike, intelligence confirmed what we'd hoped for, and what the Alliance feared most. The Council Summit was moving forward. Jaraxxus Station, a massive diplomatic fortress orbiting a dead star in neutral space, would host the emergency session. Every high-ranking counselor, every military strategist, every key decision-maker would be there. A perfect target. We didn't have to destroy the station. That would be suicide and hand the Council a propaganda victory. No, the mission was simpler and deadlier. Infiltrate, extract sensitive intelligence, and, if the opportunity arose, neutralize key leadership. A scalpel, not a hammer. I handpicked the strike team myself. Major Eric Dane, leader of 1st Terran Recon, one of the most dangerous men I'd ever met. Sergeant Kellen Ward, demolitions and breaching expert. Lieutenant Mira Holt, infiltration specialist, silent as shadow, ruthless as any soldier in the fleet. And 4 others, all veterans of black operations long before this war began. This wouldn't be a conventional assault. Jaraxxus was shielded, with multiple perimeter defense layers and a garrison of elite Alliance forces. No ship could get close, so we wouldn't take a ship. Not in the usual sense. "Grav skiffs," Jonas said, looking at the schematics. "You're insane." I smirked. "Worked on Kethar Prime, and Jaraxxus has maintenance corridors big enough for skiff access." Jonas shook his head, but the admiration was there in his eyes. "You're going with them?" "I am," I said. "This isn't a mission I can delegate." Jonas grunted. "Then let's make damn sure you come back alive, Captain." Preparation was brutal. Every aspect of the station was mapped, thanks to friendly sources among the neutral species growing disillusioned with the war. Human allies were emerging in the shadows. We outfitted the skiffs with low-signature stealth plating, comms encrypted, weapons optimized for close-quarters combat, armor designed for Alliance weaponry. We weren't just infiltrating a summit. We were walking into the enemy's beating heart. The jump to Jaraxxus was tight, threading through unpatrolled lanes at the edge of Alliance-controlled space. We staged from a hidden Terran outpost 3 systems out, and then launch. The grav skiffs drifted silently toward Jaraxxus under low power. No signals, no drive signatures, just dead objects drifting along calculated vectors. The station loomed ahead, a monstrous construct of alloy and shield arrays, bristling with weapons and sensor clusters, a symbol of Alliance pride. But pride was no armor against human ingenuity. We slipped in through a maintenance conduit barely wide enough for the skiffs. Once inside, our techs scrambled local sensors. We were invisible. For now. Touchdown. We disembarked in the lower levels, abandoned industrial sectors used only for system support. From there, it was a ghost's path through the labyrinth of maintenance shafts and forgotten access points. Mira led the way, scanning for traps and sensor ghosts. Eric and Kellen covered flanks. I stayed center, coordinating the op, and ready to pull the trigger if things went south. It was a strange thing, walking through the veins of the enemy, unseen, listening to the murmur of alien voices echoing through walls of steel, smelling recycled air thick with antiseptic. Up close, the mighty Alliance seemed fragile, artificial, a facade held together by bureaucracy and arrogance. After 6 hours of creeping through the station's underbelly, we reached our first objective, the data nexus. If we could extract files from this core, we'd expose classified council war plans, fleet deployments, internal dissent, off-the-books operations, gold for our intelligence networks. Mira and a tech specialist went to work, splicing into the secure feeds. I monitored perimeter cams, watching the flow of alien guards and counselors just meters away. "Captain," Mira whispered after 10 tense minutes, "we've got it. Full data package copied." I exhaled slowly. First success. Now came the hard part. The summit chamber was above, heavily guarded, multiple security layers. But luck was with us. The station's own comms revealed that the council summit was fracturing. Heated arguments, political threats, the internal dissent we'd hoped for was boiling over. Perfect cover. We moved up, silent, fast. Using ventilation shafts and blind spots, we positioned ourselves along the outer ring of the summit chamber. Through sensor mics and passive feeds, we could hear everything. The council was in chaos. "This war is madness!" shouted a Verashi delegate. "We are bleeding resources. Humans grow stronger with every blow." Counselor Isan spat. "They must be crushed. The longer we hesitate, the more they divide us." Another voice chimed in, Koresh of the Muldoon. "There are species refusing war orders, some defecting. Humanity has allies within our ranks." Isan's voice became a hiss. "Then they will be purged." It was all we needed to hear. Proof of fractures, proof of fear. But as we prepped for exfiltration, a second opportunity emerged. Mira tapped my shoulder, eyes gleaming. Counselor Isan is moving to a secure chamber, alone, minimal escort. I knew what that meant. Backdoor deals, unrecorded decisions, and an opening to deal the Council a blow they'd never recover from. We shadowed Isan's movements through maintenance corridors. Timing was critical. One mistake, and alarms would bring half the station down on us. In a narrow passage near a power junction, we intercepted. The guards went down in silence, Mira and Eric striking with ruthless precision, and there stood Counselor Isan. Arrogant, furious, and now suddenly terrified. I stepped forward, weapon raised. "You made a mistake inviting humanity to your alliance," I said coldly. "You made a bigger mistake starting this war." He sneered through his fear. "You won't escape alive, Terran. The alliance will destroy you." I leaned closer. "Then I'll make sure they remember you as their first casualty. A single shot, clean, no theatrics, just efficient closure." Counselor Isan, the war's greatest architect, was dead. The extraction was chaos. The station's sensors finally picked us up, alarms blaring across every channel. But our team moved like shadows, pre-planned exfil routes, diversion charges, rapid redeployment. By the time Alliance security reached the kill zone, we were already in the maintenance conduits, data cores, and mission footage in hand. Hours later, aboard the Valiant, the team returned. Bloodied, tired, but alive. Mission accomplished. Jonas met us in the hangar, eyes wide. "You did it," he breathed. "Isan's death is already spreading across channels. The Council's in disarray." I nodded grimly. "And we have their war plans." Lyra was already processing the data. Fleet deployments, communication intercepts, proof of dissent among key species. It was more than victory. It was momentum. Fleet Command broadcast a statement within hours. "Humanity did not start this war, but humanity will finish it. The Council's crimes will not go unanswered. To all species seeking truth, join us. The Alliance is crumbling. Together we can build something stronger." The next day saw a wave of defections. Several minor species declared neutrality. Some sent covert envoys to the Terran fleet, seeking protection or alliance. Even within the Alliance military, commanders hesitated. Some refused war orders. Some deliberately slowed fleet movements. Fear spread faster than any weapon. And as the Valiant prepared for its next strike, one thing was clear. The Council now truly regretted inviting humans to their ranks. And the war they feared most, the one they started, was about to consume them. 2 days after the Juraxis infiltration, the galaxy changed. Counselor Isan's death shattered the fragile illusion of unity within the Deathworld Alliance. The footage we leaked, showing Isan's fanatical obsession with purging dissent, spread like wildfire. Even neutral species that had tried to stay out of the war began reconsidering their positions. Some called it an assassination. Some called it justice. But no matter what they called it, one truth was clear. Humans had struck at the heart of the Council, and survived. And now, the galaxy was watching to see what we would do next. I stood in the Valiant's war room as Jonas briefed the fleet commanders. The star map flickered with updates, new defections, new battle groups forming on both sides. "This is it," Jonas said, voice tight. "The Council's core fleets are moving to consolidate. They're pulling back from outer systems to protect the homeworlds." Halverson nodded grimly. "Which means their outer colonies are exposed." I studied the map. He was right. In their desperation to protect the core, the Council was abandoning hundreds of rim worlds, some rich in resources, some strategic. "If we hit now," I said quietly, "we can break their supply chains, cut off reinforcements, and force the outer sectors to choose." Lyra tapped a few controls, pulling up intercepted comms. "Many already have. The Neltari coalition declared neutrality this morning. The Drayak clans are in open rebellion. and several human-leaning merchant guilds are refusing to pay Alliance war levies. The collapse had begun, but the Council wasn't going down quietly. They still commanded some of the largest fleets in known space, battle-hardened, heavily armed, and now desperate. And desperation made them dangerous. We knew they were planning a counteroffensive, a strike aimed at one of the Terran colonies in the Vega corridor, a high-profile target. If they could massacre a human world, they'd regain fear and leverage. "We won't let that happen," I said. "We go on the offensive, full force." Jonas grinned. "About time." The plan was simple. Step 1, launch simultaneous strikes against vulnerable outer colonies. Force the Council to spread its fleets thin. Step 2, position a counterfleet along the Vega corridor. Bait their main force into battle on our terms. Step 3, crush them. Within 48 hours, the Terran fleet mobilized. Strike groups under my command hit key outer colonies with surgical precision, crippling shipyards, cutting off fuel depots, seizing strategic jump points. At every turn, more local forces defected or surrendered outright. Human adaptability made the difference. While the Council floundered in political debates and fractured orders, our forces operated with one unified goal: victory. Then came the real test, the Battle of Vega Prime. We knew the Council's flagship fleet was coming, led by Grand Admiral Thalek, one of their most decorated commanders, a veteran of 100 battles, utterly loyal to the Council, and utterly convinced that humanity had to be destroyed. Our intelligence pinpointed his fleet's route. We prepared accordingly. The Valiant and her battle group took point, supported by 2 full Terran strike fleets under Commodores Hale and Veyron. Total force, 67 warships. Estimated enemy force, over 120. We would be outnumbered nearly 2-1, but numbers alone don't win wars. Human will does. We arrived at Vega Prime hours ahead of the enemy, fortifying orbital positions, deploying fighter screens, and laying down grav mines along the enemy's likely approach vectors. Every soldier aboard the Valiant knew what was coming. There were no illusions, no false hope. This battle would be brutal, possibly decisive. But not one man asked to stand down. The enemy arrived at 0400 hours, local time. Alliance cruisers, dreadnoughts, carriers, dozens of them emerging from jump space in massive formation. Their weapons glowed like a rising storm. I stood on the bridge, eyes cold. "This is it," Jonas said quietly. I nodded. "Open fleet-wide comms." The channel buzzed live. Across dozens of ships, tens of thousands of Terran soldiers listened. "This is Captain Damon Krell," I said, voice steady. "You know why we're here. You know what they've done. They came to wipe out Vega, to show humanity fear." I let the silence hang for a moment. "But they forget who we are. They forget what we've endured. They forget that Earth forged us to fight wars far worse than this one." Another pause. I wanted every man to feel it. Today, we remind them. No quarter, no retreat. For Earth, for humanity, for victory. The channel cut. The battle began. The opening salvos shook space itself. Alliance warships advanced in rigid formations, disciplined, overwhelming in raw firepower. We answered with fluid, adaptive strikes. Terran ships darting in and out of enemy gaps, exploiting weaknesses, overwhelming isolated vessels. Our fighters, piloted by some of the most lethal aces in the galaxy, ripped through Alliance bomber wings, carving bloody swaths through their flanks. On the Valiant, I commanded without pause, calling vector shifts, targeting priorities, strike rotations. Jonas relayed orders with grim efficiency. "Squadron Delta, flank right, Sector C breach opening, heavy cruisers concentrate fire on their left line." For hours, the battle raged. We lost ships. Brave men and women died. But so did they, and more of them than us. Our grav mines tore through their forward vanguard. Our Wolfpack corvettes crippled their rear support. Their carefully planned assault unraveled under human pressure. Then came the turning point. Admiral Thalek's flagship, a monstrous dreadnought called Oathkeeper, pushed forward, trying to rally his collapsing fleet. We saw the opening. I ordered the strike. A full wing of Terran assault ships surged toward Oathkeeper, led by our heaviest cruisers. The battle became a knife fight around the dreadnought, turrets blazing, fighters dueling point blank. Finally, one Terran assault frigate, TSF Requiem, pierced Oathkeeper's weakened shields. Her captain, Commander Royce, rammed the enemy flagship's weapons core with a last, desperate strike. The explosion lit space like a dying star. Oathkeeper broke apart. Thalek, one of the Council's greatest war leaders, was gone. The remaining Alliance forces faltered. Some fought to the last. Others fled. By the battle's end, Vega Prime stood unconquered, and the Council had lost more than ships that day. They had lost hope. In the aftermath, defectors flooded our comms. New factions declared neutrality, or outright alliance with humanity. The Alliance core worlds remained, but their fleets were shattered, their authority crumbling. I stood again in the Valiant's war room, watching the latest reports. Jonas stepped beside me. "We've won this phase," he said. "The Council's on the ropes." I nodded. "But it's not over, not yet." He glanced at me. "When do we take the core worlds?" I smiled coldly. "Next." The Battle of Vega Prime broke the back of the Council's fleet power. But it did something even more important. It shattered their aura of invincibility. For centuries, the Deathworld Alliance had ruled by fear, not through loyalty, not through justice, through the cold, calculated certainty that no one could stand against them. Now the galaxy had seen otherwise. Now they had seen humans stand, fight, and win. In the weeks following Vega, the collapse spread like wildfire. Alliance frontier colonies declared independence. Several minor species outright seceded from the Council. Even on the core worlds, those ancient planets that had formed the heart of the Alliance, civil unrest boiled over. The footage of Councillor Ison's death, the leaked war crimes, the total defeat at Vega, it all combined into a perfect storm. Riots erupted in major cities. Dissent spread among military ranks. And amid the chaos, new voices emerged, alien leaders who had once feared humans, now calling for a new order. It was the perfect moment to strike. I stood again in the Valiant's war room with Jonas, Lyra, and Halverson. Before us floated a detailed star map of the core systems, 6 primary worlds, dozens of support colonies. Jonas traced a path with one finger. "If we punch through here, Tesser Gate, we can drive straight into the core." Lyra added, "Local resistance groups are ready to move. They just need our signal." Halverson grinned. "And the Council won't be able to stop them. Their fleets are broken, their command structure fractured." I stared at the map, cold resolve in my veins. Then we hit them. Hard. Fast. No time for them to regroup. The plan was bold. A multi-pronged Terran assault into the core sectors, combined with covert operations to ignite full-blown uprisings on the ground. Our fleet, fresh from victory, would spearhead the offensive. Behind us, defected species and sympathetic factions would close the net, isolating the remaining Council loyalists. It was risky, but if we succeeded, the war would be over. Humanity would stand victorious. 2 days later, the offensive began. The Valiant led the first wave through the Tesser Gate, an ancient jump corridor heavily fortified by the Alliance. They thought it would hold us back. They were wrong. Terran shock squadrons hit the outer defenses with precision strikes, while stealth corvettes bypassed key turrets to disable control nodes. In less than 6 hours, the mighty Tesser Gate fell. From there, the advance was relentless. One by one, core sector colonies fell, not through bombardment, but through joint operations with local resistance forces. Alien civilians who once viewed humans as monsters now hailed us as liberators. I watched the feeds from the first liberated city on Vexar Prime. Alien crowds waving Terran banners, cheering our soldiers as they marched through the streets. History had turned. But the Council still held its capital, Thalvera, a world of towering spires and ancient fortresses, their last stronghold, their last hope. We would take it. I gathered the fleet commanders for final planning. The Council will not surrender, I told them. They know their time is up. They will fight to the last. Jonas nodded grimly. We are ready. Lyra added, Our agents inside Thalvera report mass panic. Loyalist forces are stretched thin, many refusing to fire on civilians. Halverson smirked. We give them the final push. I looked around the table, meeting every gaze. No half measures. We finish this. For every life they've taken, for every colony they've burned, for Earth. The final assault began at dawn. Terran dropships descended through a maelstrom of flak as the fleet pounded orbital defenses. I led the first wave. No delegation, no hiding behind a desk. If this was the final battle, I would fight it alongside my men. The streets of Thalvera burned. Loyalist soldiers fought with desperation, but their lines crumbled as alien resistance fighters rose from within, joining the Terran advance. I moved with a squad through the heart of the city, gunfire echoing through shattered spires. We fought block by block, every corner contested, every advance paid for in blood. But inch by inch, we closed on the Grand Spire, the Council's command citadel. Inside, chaos reigned. Councilors argued, guards deserted. The illusion of control was gone. We breached the spire at noon. Mira's infiltration team cleared the upper levels. Jonas and I led the main assault. Blaster fire tore through marble halls once filled with pomp and arrogance. At the council chamber, we forced the final doors. Inside, what remained of the council cowered, once proud rulers reduced to desperate, broken creatures. I stepped forward, weapon raised. It's over, I said coldly. The galaxy will no longer bow to your lies. Councillor Koresh, the oldest among them, met my gaze with weary resignation. It was always going to end this way, he said softly. I nodded once. Yes, but humanity did not choose this war. You did. We took them alive, for trial, for history. No martyrs, no false legends. The council had fallen. Outside, the banners of the old regime were torn down. Across the city and across the galaxy, the message spread. The Deathworld Alliance was no more. Humanity had won. In the days that followed, a provisional assembly formed. Terran leaders working alongside defected species to rebuild a new order. Not an empire, not another tyranny, but something better. A galaxy no longer ruled by fear. I stood once more aboard the Valiant, watching the stars. Jonas joined me. It's done, he said quietly. I nodded. The war, yes, but the real work begins now. He smiled. And if anyone can do it. I looked out at the vast expanse beyond the viewport. Humanity had been underestimated, used, betrayed. But we had risen. And now the galaxy would never forget. Victory was supposed to feel like triumph. I should have stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the banners of the Deathworld Alliance burn, feeling satisfaction, vindication. But in truth, the air was heavy, and the stars seemed colder than ever. We had won, yes, but the cost? Too high. Ships lost, colonies in ruins, civilian dead in the millions across dozens of worlds, and beneath it all, the knowledge that this war hadn't needed to happen at all. If the Council hadn't tried to use us, if they hadn't tried to break us. But they had. And now their empire was ash. The immediate aftermath of Thalvera's fall was chaos. With the Council arrested and their core fleets destroyed, power vacuums opened everywhere. Old rivalries flared. Some species rushed to declare independence. Others sought Terran protection. Some opportunists tried to carve out fiefdoms amid the wreckage. It was the kind of moment that could have plunged the galaxy into anarchy. But we didn't let it. Within days of the Council's fall, Fleet Command and the Terran Provisional Government acted fast. An emergency galactic assembly was called, not just Terrans, but defected species, former neutral powers, and even some who had fought against us but now sought peace. Jonas, Lyra, and I attended as military envoys. We had fought this war to the bitter end. We would help shape what came after. The assembly was held aboard Unity Station, a neutral platform orbiting a binary star. I remember stepping into that great hall for the first time. Alien delegates from across the galaxy gathered, watched us enter in silence. Once, they would have looked at us with suspicion. Fear, now, respect, wariness, and under it all, acknowledgement that humans had earned their place here, not as tools, but as equals, or perhaps more. The debates were fierce. Some species still hated us. Some blamed us for the war's devastation, but the evidence was undeniable. We hadn't started this war. We had survived it, and we had done what no other power ever had, broken the Council's stranglehold. I spoke before the assembly on the third day. I kept my words simple. Director, male. From a soldier's heart, not a politician's. You called us allies when it suited you, I said. You armed us, used us, thought we would kneel. I looked across the hall, into dozens of alien eyes. But humans do not kneel. We fight, we survive, and now we stand. A pause. The room held its breath. We did not want this war, but we finished it, and we will not see another like it. Not here, not now, not ever again. By the end of the week, a new galactic charter was signed. The Deathworld Alliance was dissolved permanently. Its member species were given the right to self-govern, under oversight, with no central council to dominate them again. A galactic provisional council was formed, equal representation, civilian-led, no permanent military authority. And though many grumbled, it was agreed that Terran forces would serve as neutral peacekeepers for the first transitional decade. Some feared this would make us overlords, empire builders. But they didn't understand humans. We didn't fight for conquest. We fought because we were left no other choice. In the following months, as the core world stabilized, I found myself restless. I had been a soldier all my life. Now the war was over, or so they said. But I had learned one thing in this war above all. Peace is a fragile thing. Rumors soon reached us of Council loyalist remnants, scattered warlords refusing to disarm, of secret weapons caches hidden in remote sectors, of new players, pirate kings, rogue corporations, moving to fill the vacuum left by the old regime. And worse, whispers of something deeper, older, lurking beyond explored space. The Alliance had fought wars out there, in the black, for centuries. Wars they had never shared with us. Wars they had lost. Now those shadows were stirring again. Jonas found me on the Valiant's observation deck late one evening. He poured 2 glasses of Terran whiskey, handed me one, and stared out at the stars. "Feels strange, doesn't it?" he said. "Winning." I took a long drink. "It's not over, not really." He nodded. "I've seen the reports, loyalist fleets, hidden arsenals." "And something else," I said quietly. "Beyond the rim. You've seen the old Council archives we captured." He grimaced. "Yeah, deep space contact reports, civilizations that vanished, unknown threats, things even they were afraid of." I looked him in the eye. We fought this war to survive. Now we have to fight to hold what we've built, and to prepare for whatever's coming." He raised his glass. "To survival, then." I clinked mine against his. "And to never kneeling." The Valiant remained on active patrol in the months that followed, flagship of the new peacekeeping fleet. We hunted warlords, shut down slave markets, protected rebuilding colonies, and always we watched the deep dark. In time, I was offered promotion, admiral, even council chair if I wanted it. I refused. I was a soldier. I had done what needed doing, but now younger leaders would rebuild the galaxy's politics. My place was with my crew, among the stars, and there were still battles to fight. The first real sign of new danger came 6 months after the charter was signed. A Terran deep-range exploration ship, Endeavor, vanished beyond the Orion expanse. Its final transmission was brief, distorted. Unknown contact, massive, technology beyond. "They're coming." Then silence. Fleet Command sent us to investigate. We found only wreckage, melted hulls, technology fused in ways no known weapon could explain, no survivors. But scattered sensor logs hinted at something out there, something powerful, something old. I returned to Valiant, standing once more on her bridge. Jonas and Lyra flanked me. "We're not done, are we?" Jonas said. I shook my head. "Not even close." The war had changed humanity, hardened us, unified us. We had faced the might of the galaxy, and won. Now new threats stirred, unknown enemies, unknown wars, and this time we would be ready. I sent a final message to Earth, to Fleet Command, to our allies. The war for survival never ends. But humanity stands ready. We have fought the Council. We have torn down their lies. And if new darkness comes, we will face it together. As warriors, as survivors, as humans, we will never kneel. We will never forget. And we will never stop fighting. Beyond the stars, the unknown waited. But now the galaxy knew. When humanity fights, when Earth rises, no force in the stars can break us. And this time, it would be the galaxy itself that would regret ever underestimating humans again.